All right, hello everybody. Today is Thursday, April 4th, 6:30 p.m. We are scheduled to talk about Jensen billing, billing for your leads, getting your clients to pay you, the different configurations that we have. I'm going to have a little bit of an overview up front of everything we've had existing up until now, and then we will go ahead and talk about a few of the things that we've recently added this week and a few of the things that are coming next week. Feel free if you guys have any questions. It doesn't have to be related to what I'm talking about today. You can ask anything related to Jensen, anything related to lead generation. I will try my best to help you out. And let me just answer one quick question here. When using your software to build a website, is the website transferable to another platform? That is a great question. It's not that we don't want you to transfer the website away. Right now, there's just no built-in export to HTML functionality. If you do want to transfer a site, I believe that we can go ahead and just pull the HTML for you and give you a zip file that you can go and take to any other place in the world to host it. So that we will never bogard your HTML templates or your websites that you build in Jensen. You guys are free to take them, to do whatever you want with them. That's certainly not our business model or our plan. So let's go ahead and let's talk about billing. And now I'm going to go into a billing settings here to refresh all of our memories. We have a campaign that I'm looking at. It's a demo campaign. You have lead sources, whether it's a phone number, whether it's a Facebook lead ad, whether it's a website that you've built in Jensen or an external website that you've added via the Jensen JavaScript, or even an Unbounce or a ClickFunnels landing page that you've integrated with us via webhooks. Doesn't matter. They're all going to be sitting here. All of your lead sources will be in your campaign. You then have a number of clients as well as a variable number of billing plans. And you kind of need them all to be smushed together at the same time in perfect unison to get things to bill. So what I mean by that is if I'm looking at a campaign, we've had a lot of people who incorrectly assume that when you add a phone number to a campaign that already has a billing plan, that it's going to automatically get assigned that billing plan settings. That's not the case. You can have an unlimited amount of billing plans in a campaign, and they can be assigned to any configuration of lead source objects. So let's go ahead and let's just look at a billing plan here. And again, we have the option to give a billing plan any name we want. The billing interval, we can choose from once a week, we can choose once every other week, and we can choose once a month. You also have the ability to choose the day of the week that you want to generate the invoice on. And we have this delay option here. So let's say that I chose to generate my invoice on Monday, but I had a 1 here in the delay. What that is going to do is the client's going to be able to see their invoice on Monday, and they will have 24 hours to make changes to it or to request that they don't want to pay for any leads that they don't like, to maybe clarify some lead quality. That delay is the mechanism to prevent you from having to go back and refund charges, because the longer you do lead gen, the more you realize that customers and clients don't really look at the specific leads until you hit them with a bill, and then all of a sudden they go line by line and tell you exactly which leads they didn't like and why they shouldn't pay for them. The next functionality we have here is the approval of leads. So if you've been using Jensen, or if you haven't been using Jensen, we have a lead flow process, if you will, where you can have a lead come into the system. If it's a phone call, it's obviously going to go directly to a client. Even if it's an email submit and you have notifications set up, it's going to instantly be transferred over. But in terms of them in their Jensen dashboard being able to see leads, you can have them set up so you can approve them manually, which means that a lead is going to come in. Maybe someone calls a phone number. You're going to see it on your side as the main Jensen user, but if you have each lead approved manually, Your client user isn't actually going to see that lead until you go ahead and hop into your leads page, and there's a green button on every lead that says approve. Now that's when you have it set to each lead must be approved manually. You're going to literally have to click approve on every single lead. The next option down is this all leads are approved by default. It is pretty self-explanatory. It's kind of skipping the functionality where instead of you having to go in or have a VA go in and approve leads for your client to see, you go ahead and just send them all the leads directly into their Jensen dashboard. And the final option is automatically approve leads older than a week. And this is for you just having a rolling schedule of leads that always get approved. So you're not in a position where if you haven't approved a lead and your billing plan comes up and it's once a week, that you will not bill for those leads. So that's a way around that. Our next option here, you can include VAT if you're European and you are obligated to charge that tax. And then we have the two different billing types. So we have fixed billing, pretty self-explanatory. If I wanted to charge somebody that was subscribing to this billing plan $1 a month or $1 a week on Mondays, in this case, I can put one in here. And I can also choose per lead. So let's say I have a site and I might have form leads coming in and I want them to come in at maybe $25, but we want calls to be charged at $100. And maybe we want Facebook leads to come in at something like $5 because those are cheaper. We can go ahead and set up per lead source billing, and then we can also choose a threshold here. So let's say in this example, I'm going to go ahead and just put 500 for this threshold. Let's say I have a billing plan that's once a week and it bills on Monday. And I've got a campaign running attached to it with phone calls, and I get 5 phone calls in one day. When it hits this threshold, instead of waiting until that Monday to bill, it's actually just going to bill immediately when it hits the 500, and it'll do that every single time you hit 500. This will prevent you from ever generating an invoice above a certain size and scaring any clients or customers. So that is our billing functionality as it stands today. Now let's get into the things that just went live. So the main thing today that I think a lot of people have been asking for and will be using is Jensen now supports multi-currency billing. So the standard billing has always been in US dollar, and as of this week, you can bill clients in euro, in Great British pound, Australian dollars, and Canadian dollars. You have the option to go ahead and set that on per lead as well as fixed lead billing plans. And once you've done that, every single time you invoice a client, it's going to be charged in that amount through your Stripe account. These are native Stripe integrations. Stripe is going to handle the conversion. We really aren't doing a bunch in terms of converting any dollars from one currency to another. This is all happening magically in the background with your Stripe account. Now, the other thing that I want to point out with multi-currency billing is the wallet functionality. So I'm looking at my clients tab here, and I went and I added myself as a test user. I haven't accepted it yet because it doesn't matter. What I want to point out is we have the credit system that many of you are using, which allows you to go ahead and give your clients credits to the system. Maybe you want to give them a couple $100 in trial credits while they get on so that they can see that you're providing quality leads. Whatever it is, you can come in here and you can now set your client's wallet to be a certain currency. The major note here is that once you have set a currency and you've given your client credit in that currency, that wallet is going to be locked in that currency for that client forevermore. So if I have a client and I want to charge them in euro, I can go ahead and do that, and I can even grant them a couple of bonus dollars so that they can onboard smoothly, but I won't be able to switch later in time and charge them in USD. You'll either have to message us through support, and it's going to be a major headache, or you can add your client again as a secondary account and have them only purchasing leads under unique currencies through unique accounts. So that is the big announcement today, the big thing that I am excited to see get out there. I know we've been waiting on, or not we've been waiting, there's been a number of Australian users that have been waiting on this functionality. And we also have a number of Canadians. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of Europeans as well. But the next thing that I'd like to talk about is some changes that we've made to invoicing and viewing invoices. The main functionality that we've added as I click onto my invoice page is going to be, actually, let's go ahead and look at something even more important. So before I show this invoices change, let's go back to a billing plan. And what we've added, which is super important, is the actual date that we are going to create an invoice for any given billing plan next. So this next billing date is super important because, as many of you know, when you go and try to make some changes to existing billing plans, it has been a little bit confusing as to when the next billing date is. Now there will never be any confusion again. You can see the next billing date being calculated dynamically by us. Anytime you make a change to your billing plan or when you create a billing plan, it's going to be very clear when the invoice is going to be generated. So that is the first thing. Let's go ahead and let's look back at our invoices tab. The next thing we've added is for you to have the ability to manually retry failed invoices. We've probably run, I don't even know at this point, but many dozens of failed invoices we've run manually in the back end. Now we don't have to do that, and more importantly, you don't have to wait for us. So if you have a client that maybe didn't have enough cash on his debit card when a payment went through and it got denied, you'll be able to come in here, come into your invoices table, which is under your client's link, and anything that's failed, you'll just be able to come here and click the charge button, and that will reattempt the charge. The next added functionality is going to be a little bit of a log or an event history for your invoices. So you can see here that this is a little $1 test invoice. I'm going to go ahead and click this charges history button here. And now you can see that this was a successful charge. I actually realized that I don't even know who or what that $1 charge or these bunch of $1 charges went to, but this is an example of a successful charge. We can see, if we go back, let's see if we can see some failed charges here. That was the wrong button to click on. Let's go ahead and click the show button. And this is unfortunately an old one. We will see that when you are running live charges, you can go ahead and you can do exactly what I did. And if you have a failed charge, you'll actually find out more information by seeing this error message. So you'll be able to see if the client maybe just forgot to update their card, maybe if they have insufficient funds, whatever the reason is. Now you'll be able to clearly see the message coming from Stripe right here in your Jensen dashboard. Now let me quickly hop through our questions here and make sure that there's nothing being missed. So we have a question here. When a client signs up after sending the invite, will they see leads only from the date they sign up, or will they see all prior leads for that campaign prior to the date they signed up? That is a fantastic question there. I believe that they're only going to see leads from the moment in time that they've signed up. I will double check that. It's actually a great question. I am going to go with the answer that they're only going to see leads from the moment. Actually, now that I think about it a little bit more, it's the exact opposite. They're going to see all leads from history for any lead sources in that campaign that they've been assigned to. If a client's assigned to a campaign, they're not going to necessarily see all of the lead sources in that campaign. They're only going to see the lead sources that you've assigned to them, and they will see all leads that are approved for that lead source. So it doesn't matter when you've asked or when you've added them. Another question, is there any progress on sending lead form data in the SMS notification system rather than you have received a lead? I believe that there is an engineer listening to this call right now. There is progress. It's just a matter of us updating the text message content to add or to hold the form lead. Let's go ahead and say it's Thursday. We've got a few things left this week. We should be able to get that in by mid next week, perhaps even this weekend. And thank you very much for those updates. The other question here is making field labels editable. I will go ahead and double check into that, loop back around. I know we had, and we still have, a bunch of invoicing work that was being worked on in the last few weeks, the last 3 or 4 weeks. So as soon as these invoice changes are cleared out, we will definitely have some resources freed for that. And we've got, Stephen is asking, can I hide the lead source information so the client doesn't see them? Yes, you can indeed, Stephen. We are entirely too familiar with needing to hide landing pages and lead sources from clients that want to dig into them too much. So let's go ahead and let's look at a phone number here. I believe if we scroll down, so this is on the phone number level, this show lead properties button. So if I click this off, when a client gets an email notification about a lead coming through this, they're actually just going to get a notification that the campaign title generated their lead. So instead of the phone number or the name of the phone number, it's going to use the campaign title. The same thing if you are sending form submits and you have an option, you're going to see the same exact button here. It's the show lead properties is on the form configuration form, which is a bit of a tongue twister. You will click that and turn it off, and then the form lead source won't show. So it'll just show the data. It won't show the landing page of the site or any of that at all. So the next things, I got through everything in terms of what we've added for invoicing. We have a couple of updates that are in the pipeline, hopefully ready within the next week or so. Maybe next week's update is going to include them. One of them is going to be a billing plan processing log. So if we go over to our billing plans, I'll just keep pressing back until I find it. We will be able to go into a billing plan like this, and there's going to be, you can see actually the next billing date has been added here. There's going to be an extra bit of information that's going to show every single charge, every single failure, every single attempt of anything that happens with any given billing plan. That is actively being worked on, should be released next week. The next updates we have are going to be the ability for you to update on the fly any billing day setting, and then we're going to quickly recalculate and show you exactly when the next billing invoice is going to be. We had some confusing logic here where maybe it's Thursday and I wanted to change my billing plan to Friday. It would not bill tomorrow, but it would bill the following Friday. So now we simplified it and it's just going to bill the immediate next day that's available, which in this case would be tomorrow. And then we would see this regenerated live on the fly. So right now we're just not properly regenerating that quite yet. It is in the pipeline. And we have the next thing is going to be manual generation of per lead billing invoices. So if I have this set to per lead and I generate 10 invoices or 10 leads today and I just don't want to wait to get paid, there will be a button coming in so you can just say generate that invoice right now and get paid. The next thing that's in the pipeline is going to be some updates coming to our invoice index page. So this is the invoice index page, the invoice listing page. And we're going to have some more columns here, some more information, and most importantly, some filters. So you can filter your invoices by client, by lead source, phone number, website, whatever it is, sort them around, and kind of have a more functional table than this completely unfunctional table we have in there right now. And let's see, we have a question coming in. Is there a way to bill a client through Jensen when they first sign up to create a credit for them to start with? So example, they sign up, you get $1,000 up front for leads that get debited as they come through, and then once the leads run out, they get billed again when the next threshold's set. Yes, I believe that is. The way that you would do that is going to be inviting your client. When he's accepted the invite, you're going to want to require payment data when you invite the client. As the client comes in, once they've accepted the invite, you can then go to their wallet like so. And then you can come in here, you could give them the $1,000 credits. And then when they're billed, or when all of those $1,000 of leads are done, that will start generating invoices that then starts hitting their actual wallet instead of this credit wallet. So hopefully that answers your question there. Awesome, looks like it did. All right, everybody, so that is pretty much it for what I was planning on saying today. Sorry about missing this week's webinar. I'm going to throw in a little bit of shameless cross promotion here. If you guys haven't seen the other thing that we were working on, we've been a little bit loud about it today, but we do have some Google My Business management software that is doing some cool things. Localviking.com. Something new that's coming from us. It is myself. We have Mark Luckenbaugh, the godfather of local SEO, as well as Chaz Edward, all working together on that project. We did a bit of free training. If you guys haven't seen it, head over to localviking.com and it's on the homepage. We have some special pricing for launching that will be gone as of Monday of next week and will never be that low again. That is kind of why we've been a bit busy. Ash, there will be a replay. It definitely will be a replay. AJ, it does not charge them up front. Let me reread your question really quick to see what I'm missing. So yes and no, I guess yes and no. It gives them the credit, but it doesn't charge them up front. I guess what you're referring to is perhaps the ability to pre-generate an invoice, to pre-have them fill the invoice. That's something that we've thrown around, definitely something that we will get into the software, where you can say, I want the customer to, or the client to come on, and during the onboarding step, when they put in their payment info, they'll actually have to fill their own wallet. We can force that. Right now, you can verbally tell them to do that, where a client comes in, they use their wallets. Let's see, okay, so Ryan is asking how you would charge a client a different amount per lead. Example, service calls $50, installation calls $70. Ryan, unfortunately, it's a little bit of a manual process. I don't remember what happened. Originally, we were going to have labels that were going to handle this dynamic pricing. Right now, the way that you would do it, if I hop over to my leads, part one is you're going to have to make sure that you have a per lead billing plan set to the lead source. And then let me hop into this lead tab here. And so there's going to be a button right here. So let's say I come in here. What we do is we manage labels and we add labels. So you make a label, one that's a service call, one that's the other type of call, and then you can just come in through your call list or your form submit list, your lead list, and you can add different labels. If I can find one of these that isn't on fixed billing, which is unfortunate, let's go ahead Okay, all of these are on fixed billing. That is unfortunate. So if these weren't using a fixed billing plan, what you're going to see is there's going to be an ability for you to come here and to actually change the price. So you can click and change the price of a lead up until the moment in time that before it's invoiced. So that is how we handle dynamic lead pricing. We originally had an idea of doing it around labels, but the labels extend to incoming calls and lead objects, which aren't the same thing. But hopefully that answers your question on how to differentiate between service calls and installation calls. A little bit of manual work after the fact or before you bill. No problem at all. Let me see. I had one question fly through that it looks like it was about Google My Business. Let me see. All right, a question here related to GMBs. Google changed their procedure for verifying GMBs. Do you know any techniques to build GMBs when you do not have access to the location? Hope I'm pronouncing your name right over there. At Azikiwe. Azikiwe. There are tons of updates going on in the GMB verification world. There are also tons of people that are still able to get through and verify listings without a location. You can head over to one of the Jensen partners' other services, which is called GMBswarm.com. GMBswarm.com is a good friend of mine, Ken Haber, as well as good friend and business partner Mark Luckenbaugh, run that service. They do a bunch of verifications. In terms of the actual getting things verified, the most recent method that was working was the CSV upload method using the historical GMB interface. I believe they made changes to that maybe 2 or 3 months ago. The other ways that I've heard of people verifying GMBs range from using the iPhone app, the iPhone Google My Business app with some location spoofing going on and popping GMBs without having an actual address like that. I was able to successfully do that about 2 months ago while I was in Spain. Didn't try to scale it, but that did work for me to pop one location without having an address. The other things that I've seen or heard people doing, the Google My Business API actually has functionality for agencies to allow for their customers to verify directly through their own custom dashboards. And it would sound like there are a number of people who are being unscrupulous with that API access. So that is another method perhaps that still exists. There are one last method I've heard of recently. It's actually an old method that seems to maybe be revived somehow, is verifications through Google Search Console. You can get that to somehow pop up a verification sometimes without having an address. Again, a really important part of that process is the phone numbers that you're choosing to get the phone verification. It seems that Twilio is pretty burnt in terms of a phone source for verifying GMBs, virtual GMBs, if you will. Hopefully that gave you enough information. The easiest thing, honestly, I'd highly recommend not spending much of your life trying to verify GMBs and just go to one of the vendors and pay for a GMB location instead of wasting however many hours it is that can be wasted tinkering with the GMB verification process. Hopefully that answered your question there. I believe we are coming to a standstill with questions. I wanted to thank everybody who is here. We're getting tons of good feedback from you guys as we build out Jensen. We will be live again next week. I'm actually going to reschedule our weekly webinars to a more manageable time from Wednesday morning to probably Wednesday afternoon. or early evening. That's going to be the only update there. And we will be back next Wednesday instead of next Thursday. Again, thanks everyone for showing up. I will have this recording out hopefully tonight, by the latest tomorrow, and we will see you next week.